The movie opens with an American boy named Evan who is taking care of his sick mother. His mother cracks a few jokes to lighten the mood, but the situation quickly turns emotional. Evan expresses gratitude to his mother for everything and tells her how much he admires both her and Dad. Moments later, he's horrified to realize that she's not responding and has passed away, shattering his world. The next day, after the funeral, Evan goes to a bar where he works and drowns his sorrows in alcohol with his friend. It turns out Evan's dad also passed a long time ago, and now he has no one left in this world. While they are chatting, he overhears a verbally explicit argument between a man and the woman he is with. Evan excuses himself to go to the bathroom, only to come face to face with the man who was overheard arguing. The man, who is clearly drunk, begins arguing with him, so a frustrated Evan also snaps and beats him savagely to the ground. After the owner intervenes, Evan heads outside with his friend, and he doesn't understand what just happened. Just then, the manager of the bar arrives and tells Evan he can't work here anymore because of the trouble he just caused. Evan pleads with him, saying he needs to work and can't stay idle, but the manager refuses and promises he will bring him back after things settle down. On his way home, Evan realizes he is being followed by friends of the man he had beaten, who warn him that they know where he lives. Evan is scared that the man will probably press charges and come back with more men to attack him. His friend thus advises him to lock his door that night and, if possible, leave town for a while. Later, we see Evan with a woman at home, and the two are seen passionately making out. But before things can go further, she claims she only came here out of pity, and the two only end up cuddling together. Evan is pissed off that he lost his job after just being promoted to sous chef, but the girl tells him that he didn't go to Berkeley to chop vegetables. She then notices his passport and advises him to travel somewhere and explore instead of causing trouble here. The next morning, Evan wakes up alone and is shocked to see police outside his house, which worries him. He thus grabs his backpack and some documents before sneaking out of the house unnoticed. Evan decides to go on a foreign trip to lay low for a while, and after much consideration, he finally chooses Italy. In the next scene, we see that Evan has finally arrived in Italy and settles into a hostel where he meets two British boys. They seem very friendly, and the three spend their time drinking and taking drugs while exploring the city. Life is calm for Evan over the next few days as he enjoys the beautiful scenery on a road trip with his new friends. He grieves for his mom and cries from time to time, but his friends comfort him and share their own struggles along the way. Upon reaching a nearby town, Evan notices a stunning young woman who also notices him, and an immediate connection forms between them. Later, he is seen drinking with his friends in a restaurant where he once again notices the same woman at the bar. Evan doesn't waste any time approaching her and strikes up a conversation. But the woman, whose name is Louise, seems very straightforward and asks him to leave with her right then so they can get intimate. Evan is stunned and asks if she is a prostitute or a scammer, but she denies it and even threatens to go with another man if he isn't interested. Shocked, Evan refuses and suggests they go on a proper date tomorrow, but Louise gets mad and storms off. The next morning, Evan wakes up hungover, and his friends say that they're heading to Amsterdam since Italy is too expensive. They invite him as well, but Evan refuses and decides to stay behind. In the afternoon, he looks for a job and soon arrives at a local farm. He meets an old man named Angelo, who asks if he has any experience on a farm, but Evan says he doesn't. Regardless, Angelo gives him the job and shows him around while explaining that he lives alone here since his wife died in an accident a long time ago. In the evening, Evan is walking around the town when he runs into Louise once again and decides to approach her. He asks her out once again, and though she hesitates at first, she eventually agrees to give him a chance. They introduce themselves, after which she takes him to a museum, and they begin admiring the paintings together. Louise then reveals that she's a science student, focusing on genetics and evolutionary research. She points to a painting of a vintage woman and asks Evan what he thinks of her. He tells her she looks hot, which makes Louise smile. Later, the two go out for dinner and learn more about each other. Evan comments that she doesn't sound Italian, so she explains that she was raised in different places all over the world. As the night progresses, the two begin kissing each other, and eventually they arrive at Evan's place. He then takes out a contraceptive, but she tosses it aside, and they end up making love. However, in the middle of the night, Louise begins to transform into a monstrous creature with a blackened mouth and teeth, as well as a face covered in veins. She quickly flees the house and is later seen weakly walking down the street. Moments later, Louise notices a cat in the street and grabs it, seemingly intending to eat the poor animal. The next morning, Evan wakes up disappointed to find that Louise has left without saying a word, but he doesn't have time to search for her as he starts his first day of work, with Angelo showing him the gardening tasks. Meanwhile, Louise is seen putting in contact lenses to hide her natural eye color. Her skin begins to blister and burn, causing her severe pain. She injects herself with a substance from a syringe, which heals her and prevents her from transforming into a monster. In the afternoon, Evan is seen strolling in the city, where he notices lots of dead animals lying around, which makes him feel uneasy. He then randomly comes across Louise again and asks why she left so abruptly. She claims she doesn't remember who he is, which shocks and hurts poor Evan, but Louise soon bursts out laughing and says she was just joking. The two then get some ice cream and walk around, where Evan notices that she eats a lot, but she claims to have a fast metabolism. That night, Louise takes Evan to her apartment, where he notices that she has two pet rabbits. Louise says she rescued them from her lab and is now looking for someone to adopt them. Evan notices a strange old occult book on the table, but doesn't pay much attention to it. He checks her phone to play a song, but notices that it contains many songs in different languages. He shocked when she reveals that she can speak several languages, including dead ones such as Latin and Sumerian. Meanwhile, Louise is cooking for them when she suddenly notices that her leg doesn't look right. She excuses herself and heads upstairs to the bathroom, while Evan wanders around her house, observing the bizarre pictures on her wall of animal evolution. Louise, on the other hand, begins painfully transforming into an abominable monster. Her skin becomes covered with thick hair like an animal's, and her teeth grow like a vampire's. However, she quickly injects herself with the syringe and manages to heal before finally exiting the bathroom. Afterward, they share dinner together, and Evan invites her to go to the beach for their next date, but she refuses, saying she's taking medication that makes her skin more sensitive to the sun. She also reveals that she's a vegetarian, although she craves meat sometimes. The next morning, when Evan goes to the bathroom, he's shocked to see a used syringe and assumes that Louise must be a junkie. He then heads to work and notices a strange growth happening on the tree's leaves. He asks Angelo about it, and the old man says that spring is the cause of the change. Evan also tells Angelo about the girl he's seeing and admits he has some doubts about her. Angelo simply replies that he must pick his poison, and Italian women are the best in the world. Evan then goes for a smoke break when he notices a dead sheep nearby, which makes him feel uneasy. That night, he meets Louise once again and directly asks her about the syringe he saw. She calmly explains that she has a medical condition that comes and goes, assuring him that she's not a junkie. Evan then takes out his phone to take a picture together, but Louise tries to dodge it and asks about his family instead. Evan doesn't want to discuss it, so he has a waiter take their photo, but Louise ends up hiding her face from the camera. Evan wants to take another picture, but Louise gets mad and storms off. The confused boy follows her, and Louise accuses him of just wanting to have fun with her while refusing to share anything about his life. The two continue to argue and arrive at a beach, where he finally opens up to her, revealing that his dad died a long time ago, while his mother passed away last week. He explains that he's hesitant to talk about them because he feels ashamed to be a grown man and still miss his parents every day. Upon hearing this, Louise comforts him and jokes that Evan has the same backstory as Batman, which makes him laugh. She then reveals that she has heterochromia with two different colored eyes that she usually hides with contact lenses. Evan refuses to believe it, so Louise removes her contacts and lets him see her eyes, leaving him stunned. He then comments that she shouldn't hide it as she has beautiful eyes. The next day, Louise is at work, where a man comments about a stinky smell before leaving. A horrified Louise examines herself and notices that her arm has started to rot again. She quickly leaves work and soon arrives at a secluded cave, where she lights a candle and takes out an occult book. She has also brought her 2 rabbits and brutally kills one of them with a knife. She collects the blood in a wine glass and uses it to paint the cave walls according to the occult book's instructions. Louise, overcome with ravenous hunger, begins eating the rabbits, and once the ritual is completed, she sheds her skin. That night, Evan visits her and is shocked to see her in a sick and exhausted state. She claims that she had a bad day, so he covers her with a pillow and a blanket and decides to cook something to cheer her up. The next day, Evan is wandering through town when he spots a book featuring the picture of the vintage woman that Louise had shown him a few days ago. He notices that the woman also has dual-colored eyes, so he buys the book. Later, he gives it to Louise as a gift, and she seems genuinely touched by the gesture. She then takes him to a secret place that he shouldn't tell anyone about. They get on Louise's boat and soon reach a hidden cave where the water shimmers with an otherworldly glow. Louise tells him that no one is aware of this place, and that the glow comes from the sunlight refracting through the water. That night, the couple is having dinner together when Louise begins to feel sick again. Realizing she is about to turn into a monster, she quickly excuses herself and walks away, leaving Evan confused. Louise soon arrives at a dark alley, where she feels extremely weak and can barely stand. She is noticed by an American man who, instead of helping her, tries to take advantage of her vulnerability. He lifts her clothes to harass her, but is horrified to see scales forming on her legs. Just then, Louise's face fully transforms into a monstrous form, and she wastes no time attacking the man. The next morning, we see the American man's dead body on the rocks by the sea. In the evening, Evan arrives to visit Louise, who initially refuses to let him in, but when she notices the police in the area, she reluctantly lets him inside. Louise then tells Evan that she doesn't want to continue their relationship because she's not ready for commitment and has personal problems to work through. This really breaks Evan's heart and tells her that she might be the love of his life. Louise, however, seems indifferent and asks him to leave, so Evan reluctantly walks out and punches his hand against a wall, injuring himself. In the next scene, Evan meets with Angelo and tells him that he's soon leaving to return to his country since his girlfriend dumped him. He thanks the old man for everything, right when some police officers are seen approaching. Evan assumes they are immigration officers who have come to arrest him, so he quickly runs away. That evening, Evan decides to visit Louise one last time, but when he arrives, he hears strange noises coming from inside and breaks in. He is horrified when he notices that Louise has transformed into a grotesque, tentacled reptilian creature. She struggles to reach for a syringe, so Evan grabs it and tries to inject her. After several attempts, he finally manages to do so, prompting her to eventually return to her normal state. Afterward, a horrified Evan asks if she is a werewolf or a vampire, but she claims she is human and doesn't explain further. This enrages him and he begins to leave, but Louise follows him to the street and tries to stop him. She then reveals that the vintage woman's picture he gifted her is none other than herself. Louise explains that she is 2,000 years old and that every 20 years she uses an embryonic process to absorb her own babies when she gets pregnant in order to stay young forever. That's why she didn't use contraception with Evan, and she is now pregnant. She further explains that with every full transformation, her body regenerates with 50% new DNA, causing her to look different each time. Louise also admits tearfully that she has been uncontrollable these days and even ate her rabbit. Upon hearing this, Evan is left stunned and takes some time to process the bizarre revelation. He still doesn't want to lose Louise, so he approaches her again and asks if there's any way to change the situation. She explains that if she were to truly fall in love, there is a chance that she would become immortal. That's because if she falls in love, her body will secrete oxytocin, a hormone that prevents the embryo absorption from taking place. However, she reveals that she cannot control this phenomenon, and her body decides for her. When Evan asks if she loves him, she bluntly replies that she doesn't and would never give up her immortality for a man she has only known for a week. Just then, they notice the police in the distance, and Evan immediately assumes they're after him, prompting the two to run away from there. Louise then reveals that only 24 hours remain until her transformation, so Evan pleads with her to spend that time with him, insisting he'll prove that she truly loves him. Upon hearing this, Louise agrees, and the two set out on a road trip to another town. They visit several museums and churches, with Louise opening up about her past. During this time, she continues to mutate from time to time, but she takes the injection to keep herself under control. With only a few hours left, Louise brings Evan to her hometown, Pompeii, where she was born. The town has long been destroyed by a volcanic eruption, and Louise shows him the casts of her dead parents, which are still preserved there. She then reveals that her condition is genetic, passed down from her mother, who was also immortal. But it turns out her mother chose to give up her immortality for the sake of Louise and her father. Upon hearing this, Evan begs her to stay with him, but she explains that it's not under her control and her body chooses for her. She warns that during her next transformation, she will become the largest and sharpest monster yet, so she advises him to run before sunrise. But Evan refuses to leave her side, so Louise rests her head on his lap. She then asks him what it's like to live a finite life, so Evan begins to describe the experience of being mortal, including all of its joys and meaningful moments. Not long after, some grotesque sounds are heard, but Evan is too scared to look at her. He then notices that the sun has risen, and when he finally looks at Louise, he is relieved to see that she is not transformed and appears calm and resolute. It is implied that she has fallen in love with him and has finally become a normal human now. The two smile at each other as a volcano erupts in the background, and the movie ends, leaving our protagonist's fate unknown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to watch this one too.